wonderful opportunity for me to come back to you and say hello from Ruth Wasserman Lande in Nazareth, in the Ulpan of Bokra. I'm very pleased to be with you, former advisor of President Shimon Peres and the CEO and founder of Ruth Global Innovative Advisory. We have here in studio today Seth Frantzman, a very well-known and experienced journalist with the Jerusalem Post. He has been in numerous places, has covered numerous fields. Seth, it is very much a pleasure to have you with us in studio and to hear your take on the recent Abraham Accords.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, I think that these accords are a phenomenal opportunity for Israel, for the region, also for the entire world, because the UAE, especially, and Bahrain and the Gulf, is such a hub of global commerce. So it looks to be just a really amazing piece, and hopefully a kind of new Middle East and a new world order, if of course everyone can kind of keep things together and keep in the right track.
Absolutely. Not an easy, quite a challenging endeavor, given the very many years that we've been almost estranged, but almost like a family. We've come back together. And I wonder, you have an Anglophilic kind of readership in the Jerusalem Post, and what have been the responses so far to your writing and your analysis vis-a-vis the Abraham Accords, UAE, Bahrain, and other countries in the Gulf that are to follow?
I think a lot of readers of the Jerusalem Post are fascinated by this kind of peace agreements. For many of them, it was unexpected. Certainly, it's a learning experience because, truth be told, of course, some people in the West, they don't know necessarily where Bahrain or UAE is exactly. They understand that there's kind of a Gulf, and they certainly know where Saudi Arabia is. But so they're learning a lot about these countries, and I think they are also being inspired by seeing the Hanukkah celebrations and all the things that are happening in a place like UAE. And they're hearing the messages of peace and tolerance, which I think many people were used to in the last 2 decades, maybe more, of almost writing off the Middle East and just saying, you know what, it's extremism, it's violence, conflict, ISIS. I don't want to hear about it anymore.
And you feel that this has been like a window of kind of an opening towards something that is more interesting, unheard of, unknown, and an opening to a real peace rather than a coldish peace that we've experienced previously in the region with countries like Jordan, Egypt, and so on?
Yes, I think that the rhetoric we're hearing, the symbolism of having Hanukkah and things like that, and having 50,000 Israelis travel to Dubai in the last month or so, I think all of that's really, really important, and it does show to be a kind of warm peace. In the end of the day, these are just things that we should take for granted. It should be normal that people can travel. It should be normal that countries have relations. But unfortunately, I think for 60 or 70 years, there was this acceptance that Israel, kind of alone among the world's nations, would be this country that it's like, oh, it's controversial. So I think it's breaking a new mold. It's breaking a lot of taboos. And I hope that the rest of the region will see this as a positive thing and say, okay, we may have political differences, but, there's a lot of work we can do together. And I hope that happens.
One last question with your permission, Seth. You've mentioned despite taboos, despite difficulties, inherent difficulties, the people-to-people, the real tatbiyah, the normalization, do you see it happening in countries like Saudi Arabia in the near coming future?
Yes, I think the stories we've certainly heard is that Saudi Arabia is moving in that direction, and even other countries, whether other Gulf states perhaps, or other countries in the region. And also there's communities in the region, I think, that are able to maybe more express themselves more about these issues now. For instance, the Kurdish region in Iraq, which was always a region in which Israel and the United States and Western countries were seen more positively. I think now there's a chance that many people can be more open about saying, wait, we can have an open discussion about Israel. And I think certainly, Saudi Arabia is part of that issue. And despite the fact, of course, there's people that oppose this. But at least there can be a better discussion about it.
Well, let's say that with your experience in writing concerning the region, that is a very hopeful and optimistic insight. And please God, your words will come true. That's what I wish for all of us, both in Israel and the region, for 2021. Seth Frantzman, journalist at the Jerusalem Post, thank you so much for being with us here at Bokra today.
Thank you so much.
I would like to say goodbye to all of our audience at Bokra from Ruth Wasserman Lande in Nazareth, former advisor to President Shimon Peres and current CEO and founder of Ruth Global Innovative Advisory. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.